Have you ever wondered how certain people can convince others to do things that they normally wouldn't? How advertisers get you to buy things you do and need, or politicians manipulate you into voting for their party? This is known as persuasion, and it is one of the most powerful tools that we have at our disposal. Most people think of persuasion as a positive thing, like when your parents convince you to clean your room or your friends convince you to go to a party, but persuasion can also be used for more nefarious purposes. In fact, there is a whole field of dark psychology devoted to understanding how people can be manipulated into doing things they do and want to do. So if you want to learn how to protect yourself from the dark psychologists out there, keep watching. Welcome to my channel. Today we will be looking at the dark psychology of persuasion. Before we begin, we would like to mention that this video is created for educational purposes only and is not intended to substitute a professional diagnosis. If you suspect you may have one of the conditions mentioned in this video, we highly advise you to seek help from a qualified mental health professional. If you suspect you or someone you know is a victim of manipulation or abuse, please reach out to a trusted authority or mental health care provider. If you enjoy this video, please like it and subscribe for more content. Let's start by defining persuasion. Persuasion is simply getting someone to do something by using psychological techniques. It can be done through verbal or written communication, but it can also be done through nonverbal cues like body language and facial expressions. For example, let's say you are trying to convince your friend to see the new Star Wars movie with you. You could try persuading them by telling them how much fun it will be and how much you want to see it. You could also try nonverbal cues like getting excited when you talk about the movie or giving them a pleading look. Now let's move on to the dark side of persuasion, which is manipulation. Manipulation is basically the same as persuasion, except it's used for more devious purposes. For example, a cult leader might use manipulation to convince his followers to commit illegal or immoral acts. A manipulator might use any number of techniques to gain power over another person, such as gaslighting, love bombing, or fear-mongering. The important thing to remember is that manipulation is always done with the intent to deceive. The manipulator wants to make the other person do something they wouldn't otherwise do. Now that we've established what persuasion and manipulation are, let's take a look at some of the ways that dark psychologists use persuasion to control others. One of the most common ways that dark psychologists use persuasion is by taking advantage of social proof. This is a psychological phenomenon where people are more likely to do something if they see other people doing it too. For example, let's say you are trying to decide whether or not to buy a certain product. If you see lots of positive reviews from other customers, you are more likely to trust the product and buy it even if you didn't need it. Dark psychologists will often use this principle to manipulate people into doing things they wouldn't otherwise do. For example, a cult leader might convince his followers that everyone in the world is out to get them and that the only people who truly understand them are the people in the cult. By using this type of persuasion, the cult leader is able to manipulate his followers into thinking that the cult is the only safe haven for them, which is why they should stay in the group and do whatever the leader asks of them. Another way that dark psychologists use persuasion is by appealing to authority. We naturally defer to people who we perceive as being more knowledgeable than us. For example, if you are at a restaurant, you are more likely to listen to the waiter's recommendation for a dish even if you didn't ask for one. Dark psychologists will often take advantage of this tendency by pretending to be experts on a subject when they really aren't. For example, a con artist might pose as a financial advisor in order to trick people into investing their money with him. By using this type of persuasion, the con artist is able to convince people to trust him and give him their money even though he is not qualified to give financial advice. Another way that dark psychologists use persuasion is by using scarcity. We tend to value things more when we feel like they are in short supply. For example, if you are trying to sell a limited edition item, you will be able to charge more for it because there is a limited quantity available. Dark psychologists will often use this principle to manipulate people into doing things they wouldn't otherwise do. For example, a cult leader might tell his followers that the only way To get into heaven is to join the cult. By using this type of persuasion, the cult leader is able to convince people to join the cult because they believe that it is the only way to ensure their salvation. Another tactic used by dark psychologists is called framing. It is a way of presenting information that highlights certain aspects while downplaying others. For example, let's say you are trying to convince your boss to give you a raise. You might frame your request in terms of all the extra work that you have been putting in lately, and all the positive contributions that you have made to the company. By using this type of persuasion, you are able to present yourself in a positive light and hopefully convince your boss to give you a raise. Dark psychologists will often use framing to manipulate people into doing things they wouldn't otherwise do. For example, a cult leader might frame joining the cult as a way to escape the problems of the outside world. By using this type of persuasion, the cult leader is able to convince people that the cult is the best option for them, even if it isn't. Another tactic used by dark psychologists is called foot in the door technique. It is a method of getting people to agree to a large request by first asking them to agree to a small one. For example, let's say you are trying to convince your friend to help you move. You might first ask them to help you pack up your stuff, and once they agree, you might ask them to help you carry the boxes into the moving truck. By using this type of persuasion, you are able to get your friend to agree to the big request because they already agreed to the small one. Dark psychologists will often use the foot in the door technique to manipulate people into doing things they wouldn't otherwise do. For example, a cult leader might first ask his followers to attend a meeting. Once they agree, the leader might ask them to donate money to the cult. By using this type of persuasion, the cult leader is able to get his followers to donate money because they already agreed to attend the meeting. While these are just a few of the ways that dark psychologists use persuasion to control others, it is important to be aware of these tactics so that you can protect yourself from being manipulated. If you think that someone is trying to use these tactics to control you, it is important to take a step back and evaluate the situation objectively. Try to identify the specific tactics that the person is using and then resist accordingly. For example, if the person is using scarcity to try to get you to do something, remind yourself that just because something is rare does not mean that it is automatically good or valuable. If the person is using authority to try to get you to do something, remind yourself that just because someone has a title or position of power does not mean that they are automatically right or correct. By being aware of these tactics, you can better protect yourself from being manipulated by dark psychologists. While persuasion can be a powerful tool, it is important to be aware of the potential dangers of dark psychology and the tactics that dark psychologists use to control others. By understanding how persuasion works and being aware of the different tactics that dark psychologists use, you can better protect yourself from being manipulated. If you enjoyed this video, check out these related videos to learn more about dark psychology. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this video and what you would like to see in future videos. Subscribe to my channel for more content. Don't forget to hit the like button to get more videos like this. Thanks for watching.